Hey everyone, how are we doing? My name is Tim Pongeraz and this is Focus on Detailing. Today's video is all about a car that you may never have heard of, and it's even less likely that you've even seen one. Recently, I was lucky enough to have a 1947 DeSoto in the garage, a classy classic that was one of the first cars to have a semi-automatic transmission, calling it the fluid drive, so it was a bit ahead of its time and now a pretty sought after vehicle. Now it was booked in for the lot, so it had the metal polishing, the paint correction, the ceramic coating, the interior detailing and the interior protection. It was one of the most faded cars that I've ever worked on, which was actually a good thing, because it enabled me to see a vast difference from before and after. The downside was that I used a lot of microfiber towels and a lot of polishing pads. This video is dedicated to the work undertaken, so sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy. This is how the car was delivered to me. Quite the sad and grubby green colour that was dry and chalky, you name it, but it wasn't looking too healthy. The owner had done a bit of a test spot above the light, so he knew that it was possible to correct this classic, and upon assessing that spot, it looked like this ride still had some hidden beauty yet to be revealed. I was pretty keen to start now, and obviously the best place to start would be with those wheels. An ugly brown had accumulated over time through age, mess and staining, but that was soon taken care of with a heavy hit of an APC and some good scrubbing. The rim or hub was treated to the same. Since there was no real inner wheel or barrel to clean, these were a pretty simple process, being very careful not to remove any of the original paint from the wheels. This was all then rinsed down once completed. Now with all the wheels tidied up, I hit the car with a stripping foam cannon mix, hoping to break down that stuck on dirt that was further dampening the overall appearance. I wanted to emulsify this layer as much as I could, hoping to dispel of most of it before using my wash mitt. No surprise, but the dirty film wasn't really going anywhere, not a budge. It had likely been sitting on the car for years, so quite obviously I had to jump on to the next step, using the two buckets and my wash mitt. This was not something I was overly fond of for a couple of reasons. The dirty layer was now being collected up in my wash mitt, which is what I wanted, but it was still pushing it around. As careful as I was still accepting it for this car due to its age and condition. It was kind of unavoidable, but a big no-no for modern day cars. It just goes against the detailing grain. The wash mitt was being engulfed in a disgusting mess that no amount of rinsing would satisfy. Something that you wouldn't really come across, I hope, with modern day cars. As this stuck on film is something that you only really get from years upon years of mess being built up on top of each other again and again. Not something that you really want to let go with your modern clear-coated vehicle, as it will scratch your car. I also had to be super careful both with washing and rinsing the car to avoid hitting those flaky areas, as it would only take one wrong angle of pressurized water and goodbye lifted paint. Now, once completed, I dried down the entire car. Luckily, the brown was gone and had been replaced with a much more appealing green. Unfortunately though, it turned my nice drying towel to a fresh green colour. Not ideal, but again, unavoidable. For this occasion, there was no decontaminating processes. The clay bar would likely be too aggressive and collect paint chips, further scratching the paint. We don't want that. So with the paint now cleaned, but yet still faded, I could jump straight into the correction work. Using my ShineMate polisher and an intermediate pad, I started with a test spot, seeing what I could get away with. This was cautious work, being ever so careful not to clip the peeling paint, while doing my best to get an even finish with what was available. Now after delving into the test spot and being happy with the results, I could continue with the rest of the car. I had to use an oily compound, One that would be not too aggressive but still correct slowly without drying into the chalky paint. Two options for me, both fantastic to choose from, one being Shoal Concepts S20 or 3D1. Due to what I had at my disposal at the time, I went with 3D1. This has the ability to cut and refine well in one action. I didn't want a cutting compound that was too heavy, as some sections of this car had already little to no paint left. This was a perfect option and was getting the desired results. So after many hours, I was finally finished, but still not quite happy. I decided to go for an additional lighter polish to clear up any haze and to get that final last little bit of correction in. With extra thin paint, I was working within even tighter parameters, although a safer polishing combo. Now I went over the entire car once more, further boosting the gloss and depth of that paint. It had come up so well, and it would seem wrong to not get that metal looking good too. Some parts machine polishing and other parts by hand. Every bit was touched up to remove tarnishing and fix that dull look. The entire car then got its last but by no means less important degreasing wash, stripping any residual oils from the paint. This was then followed by drying the car and giving it a hit with an IPA spray. This prepped the surfaces perfectly for the final step. With an applicator in one hand and their secret elixir, Geon Flash, in the other, I worked over the car, coating every part to lock in all that work and hopefully prevent that nasty fading from coming back anytime soon. This is an awesome and long-lasting durable coating that can be applied on different surfaces with ease. Application was a breeze and the end results are always amazing. The finishing piece was of course slathering those tyres in a rich layer of Geon's tyre shine. Now turning my attention to the interior. This was already in pretty good shape and highly likely that it was done up before the new owner. With a simple vacuum and an APC wipe down, it was sorted for the majority. But the intricate metal polishing was a little more time consuming, but still very therapeutic, bringing some seriously clear reflections back into the chrome work. I could now coat the vinyl and leather with Geon's leather shield. Although looking a little saturated, it would soak in, bringing about a nice natural finish that was protected from UV, dirt and general use. This was the finished results. This car's appearance was so much better than how we started, but still not perfect. There was chips, gouges, divots, thin paints and everything else that comes with age. But this is exactly what the owner was after. See, he could have easily resprayed this classic, but that's not really what he's about. He loves to keep the cars in their current state, but spruced up to the best that they can be, if that makes sense. So all of the stories and history stays with them. I respect that, and looking back to see how this car is right now, I completely understand. This DeSoto had been given a new life and was now all set for the owner to take away and enjoy. So on that positive note, I'm going to be closing up this video. Thank you all for watching, take care, and I'll catch you all later.